So this is case number 10, real life avatar. I will begin by reading the question presented to me and prepare the answers and then discuss. So, case number 10. Is it morally permissible for communities to force minority groups within national borders to make sacrifices if the latter cannot reasonably be expected to benefit from their sacrifice? I'll begin my time now. I will begin my time now. Now. Okay. No, it is not morally permissible to force minority groups to make sacrifices that will not benefit that minority group. Because of the harm to the indigenous people / minority groups, the cost of what will be lost is not gained by the overall benefits from society. So, to begin, we with some definitions. We understand an indigenous group to be a tribal group that originated and lives in the area. And so, in the question, it was presented that to force minority groups. Now, in the case, it talks about indigenous people, and we're suggesting that the indigenous people are more than just a minority group. They are a people that have originated and lives in the area, as opposed to a minority group that may have migrated to the area or decided to live in a certain area to get certain benefits. And another definition is we understand eminent domain to refer to the power possessed by the state or country over all property within that state or country. Specifically, its power to appropriate property for public use. Now, the morally relevant parties in this case are the indigenous people, and again I say that we argue that the indigenous people are more than just a minority group, the Brazilian government, and the Brazilian citizens. So now the indigenous people are a morally relevant party because they are the ones that will be uprooted by this introduction of a dam. And the Brazilian government is a morally relevant party because it has a stake in the sense that they want to provide for its people, and they want to provide for the people of the indigenous tribe and provide for the people of the that are not of the indigenous tribe but are citizens that want things like electricity and higher electricity or a higher amount of electricity and things of that nature. The Brazilian citizens are those that are not indigenous, are those people have a stake because they want a dam to provide electricity and to provide goods that they could not otherwise, that they could benefit from, and possibly even provide energy that could help them as a society. Now, the morally relevant issue is, can the Brazilian government force the indigenous people to make a sacrifice with respect to the dam when the indigenous people are not going to benefit from that introduction of the dam? And like I said, the stance is no. They cannot force them. And this is because of three reasons. And the first of those reasons is it will harm indigenous / minority groups in general. Now, if we look back to the Trail of Tears by the United States, where we uprooted to benefit society, we uprooted these indigenous people. We uprooted the Native Americans, the Cherokee, and other, the Cherokee, the Blackfoot, and other tribal Indian groups, where we moved them along. They say the trail is called the Trail of Tears because move them around this trail to go from one area to the next, to kind of seclude them. And along the way, we didn't treat them very well, and a lot of Native Americans died in this situation. Now, not that the Brazilian government will treat these indigenous people the same, but by uprooting them, they're taking them away from their homeland. The indigenous people were arguably, in this situation, were there first. They were there, they had lived there, and they should not be uprooted because of the harm it will provide. They will be away from the land that they've always known. It will move them from an area of where they had picked to live, and by uprooting their families, it will cause them to not have a connection. Kind of like when we get moved from our home as children. If you've been uprooted from a certain house, you still have that connection to the house and the traditions that go along with that. And these indigenous people have lived there, and they're going to have to start a whole new life in a different location. They're going to have to plant whole new things, and they're not even going to benefit from the electricity because they don't use the electricity. They don't have computers, and they don't want computers. So if we go into the next reason, the cost of what will be lost is not gained by the overall benefits. There is no price you can put on culture and heritage. The benefits are not even solid evidence, but mostly speculation. If we look at the dam being presented in this situation, during 3 to 4 months out of the year, the dam will only run 10 to 30% capacity due to low waters, because the rain in those 3 to 4 months is not sufficient to provide for that dam. And by having this dam, it cuts off an entire area of water from water. And the idea that it will benefit from society is true. I mean, it will help society in general, but during those 3 to 4 months, it's not going to benefit anyone. That 10 to 30% is not worth the land that's going to be lost, because that water that now runs will be blocked off. The vegetation that grows in that area will be lost, and even if those indigenous people are not uprooted but able to live there, their way of gathering food is going to be lost. Their way of just providing for themselves is going to be lost, and they're going to have to find a new way, which it might not even be possible because there might not be any vegetation suitable for them to live on in that area. And then they would have to move, and when they're uprooted and and being moved, they will often, like in the Trail of Tears, families will lose people because of this. They will pass away. So the next is the government has a duty to protect minorities, and in this situation, indigenous people, just as it does the majorities. The minorities are important to a society because they provide a difference in opinion, they provide a different way of life, and this shows the majorities that not everyone lives the way they live, and you cannot uproot a minority to help the majority, because that is it really, even if we take the idea of benefiting society as a whole, it's not even, this dam isn't even benefiting society as much as it is hurting society, because it's taking away from these values and this culture that these indigenous people have. So to conclude, the government has the duty to protect minorities, and that is why it is not morally permissible to force minority groups to make sacrifices that will not benefit the minority group. Thank you. It was, 8 minutes and 22 seconds, again 22 seconds over, and I did not get to my counter-argument, which in the judge's sheet, it talks about they want a counter-argument in there that you combat, and my counter-argument was eminent domain, that some people could say that eminent domain would work, and that they could classify that as, but eminent domain cannot be used because eminent domain is a idea that, okay, I'm going to take away from your house, I'm going to take your house away from you, but I'll build a road there that you will benefit from, and they will not benefit from this dam, so therefore eminent domain will not apply. So